Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about one of the most powerful principles of success: no excuses. Excuses are easy to make, but they cost us our dreams. They are comfortable, but they keep us trapped in the same place. Every time we say, "I can't because," we build a wall between ourselves and the life we want. The truth is simple: successful people don't have fewer challenges. They just refuse to let excuses control them. They don't wait for perfect timing, they don't blame circumstances, and they don't hide behind reasons. They act, they push forward, and they find solutions. If you want to achieve your goals, you must live by the rule of no excuses. When we talk about living with a no excuses mindset, the very foundation begins with taking full responsibility for your life. Responsibility is the cornerstone of success, because until you own your choices, your actions, and your results, you will always find someone or something else to blame, and where there is blame, there is no progress. Think about it. How many times have people said, "I could have been successful if I had rich parents," or "I would have done better if my teachers supported me," or "I can't achieve this because of my environment"? These are all excuses, comfortable stories people tell themselves to avoid the pain of responsibility. But here's the truth: many people have come from broken homes, poverty, rejection, and struggle, and still rose to greatness. The difference is that they refused to hand over the steering wheel of their lives to excuses. They took ownership. Taking responsibility means you stop blaming your past. Your past is not your prison, it is your lesson. It may shape you, but it does not define you. If you constantly look backward and say, "This happened to me, so I cannot move forward," you give your past the power to dictate your future. True responsibility says, "Yes, my past happened, but I choose how I respond now." That shift in mindset is where freedom begins. It also means refusing to play the victim. The victim mentality is one of the strongest excuses people carry. When you see yourself as a victim, you surrender your ability to change. You start waiting for someone else to save you: the government, your family, your boss, your friends. But successful people don't wait for saviors. They rise up and save themselves. They understand that their life is in their own hands. Taking responsibility also requires honesty with yourself. Excuses thrive in dishonesty. For example, you may say, "I don't have enough time to exercise." But if you are honest, you might realize you spend 2 hours scrolling on your phone every evening. The truth is, time is not the issue, priorities are. When you are brutally honest with yourself, excuses vanish and clarity takes their place. You begin to see that most barriers are not external, they are internal. Responsibility means owning both your failures and your successes. Many people want to take credit when things go well but point fingers when things go wrong. That is a recipe for stagnation. The moment you say, "I failed because of me," you open the door to improvement. Because if you are the reason you failed, you can also be the reason you succeed. Responsibility turns failure from a dead end into a stepping stone. It also empowers you with control. When you blame others, you give away your control. Imagine saying, "I can't succeed because of the economy." That statement places your future entirely in someone else's hands. But when you say, "I will succeed regardless of the economy," you take back control. Suddenly, you are the driver, not the passenger. Responsibility is not about ignoring obstacles. It is about refusing to let obstacles become your excuses. Another aspect of responsibility is discipline. When you take ownership, you realize no one else is going to wake you up in the morning, no one else will chase your dreams for you, and no one else will suffer the consequences of your excuses. If you don't do the work, you don't get the results. Taking responsibility forces you to build discipline because you understand the weight of your choices. Even in small daily habits, responsibility matters. For instance, if you are late to a meeting, don't say, "Traffic was bad." Take responsibility, "I should have left earlier." If you miss a deadline, don't say, "My boss gave me too much work." Instead, say, "I should have managed my time better." These small shifts in language may seem minor, but they train your mind to reject excuses and embrace ownership. And when you practice this daily, it becomes who you are. Great leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, and achievers all share this trait. They don't waste time pointing fingers. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't justify failure with excuses. They say, "It's on me. If I want it, I'll find a way. If I fail, I'll learn. If I succeed, I'll keep pushing." That is the mindset of responsibility. And here's something powerful. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you control everything, but it means you control your response to everything. You may not control where you were born, what family you had, or the challenges life throws at you. But you control your mindset, your actions, your choices, and your persistence. And often, that is all you need to turn disadvantages into advantages. One of the greatest traps that hold people back from achieving their goals is the mindset of "I'll start when the time is right." It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? After all, who wouldn't want to begin their journey when circumstances are perfect? But here's the harsh truth. Perfect conditions do not exist. If you wait for everything to align, you will wait forever. Think about the excuses people make every day. "I'll start my business when I have more money." "I'll go to the gym when I'm less busy." "I'll chase my dreams once my situation improves." On the surface, these sound logical. But in reality, they are just polished excuses. They are ways of postponing action while making ourselves feel justified. The problem is, life never arranges itself into a perfect scenario. There will always be bills to pay, responsibilities to manage, and unexpected challenges to face. If you're waiting for perfect timing, you are actually waiting for something that doesn't exist. The truth is that successful people don't wait, they start where they are with what they have. They know that action creates momentum, and momentum creates progress. If you want to climb a mountain, you don't sit at the bottom waiting for the perfect weather. You start climbing step by step, learning and adjusting as you go. Waiting for the right time is also a way of hiding fear. Many people say, "I'm waiting for the right opportunity," but what they really mean is, "I'm scared to start." Fear dresses itself up as caution, but deep down it's an excuse. You don't need to be fearless to begin. You just need to move forward despite your fear. Courage isn't about waiting for fear to disappear, it's about acting in spite of it. History is full of examples of people who achieved greatness in less than perfect conditions. Think of inventors who worked out of small garages, athletes who trained with limited resources, or entrepreneurs who started with nothing but an idea and determination. They didn't say, "I'll wait until everything lines up." They said, "I'll make it work with what I have." That attitude separates dreamers from doers. Another reason why waiting for perfection is dangerous is because it kills time. Time is the one resource you can never get back. Every day spent waiting is a day you could have been learning, growing, and moving closer to your goals. The conditions may never be ideal, but your time is always now. The sooner you start, the sooner you improve, and the sooner you succeed. Here's the secret. Progress creates better conditions. When you take action, doors begin to open. Resources appear, opportunities show up, people notice your effort, but none of this happens if you are sitting still, waiting for life to hand you the perfect setup. Action is the key that unlocks conditions you never thought possible. Even small steps count. You don't have to launch a giant project overnight. You can start small and build consistently. Write one page if you can't write a book. Save a little if you can't save a lot. Exercise for 10 minutes if you can't do an hour. The point is to start. Starting small is infinitely better than not starting at all. The idea of perfect conditions is also misleading because perfection itself is subjective. What feels imperfect today may be exactly the fuel you need for growth. Challenges and obstacles may seem like reasons to delay, but in reality, they are the training ground that prepares you for success. Perfection isn't in the conditions, it's in the way you respond to them. So, the message is simple: stop waiting, start now. If you want to live by the principle of no excuses, you must abandon the illusion of perfect timing. You must embrace the messy, imperfect, unpredictable reality of life and move forward anyway. Excuses may sound harmless, but in reality, they are invisible chains that limit human potential. Every excuse we make is a wall we build between ourselves and our goal. The most dangerous part about excuses is that they sound reasonable, even logical, which is why people cling to them without realizing the damage they cause. Think about it. When someone says, "I don't have enough time," what they're really saying is, "I'm not making this a priority." When they say, "I don't have the resources," what they're actually saying is, "I don't want to get creative with what I do have." Excuses disguise themselves as valid reasons, but underneath, they are simply self-imposed limitations. Excuses shrink your world. They tell you what you can't do, what you don't have, and why success is out of reach. If you allow them to control you, you start believing in your own limitations. Before long, your excuses become your reality. For example, if you constantly say, "I'm not confident enough to speak in public," eventually, you'll avoid every opportunity that requires public speaking. Over time, this excuse limits your growth, your career, and even your personal development. It's important to understand that excuses are often rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. Instead of confronting the fear, people cover it up with an excuse. For instance, someone who dreams of starting a business might say, "The economy is too unstable right now." On the surface, that seems practical, but deep down it's fear of failure. The excuse gives them a comfortable escape, but also traps them in inaction. Excuses are also tied to habits. The more you use them, the easier they become. If you make one excuse today, it becomes easier to make another tomorrow. Soon, you don't even question them, they become your automatic response. This is why so many people remain stuck in the same place year after year. Their excuses have built a prison they don't even realize they're living in. But here's the empowering truth. Excuses are just thoughts. They are not laws. They are not immovable barriers, and they are not permanent. The moment you recognize an excuse for what it is, a limitation you created, you regain the power to remove it. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. For example, when you hear yourself say, "I'm too tired," instead of accepting it as fact, ask yourself, "Is this really true, or am I letting laziness win?" When you think, "I don't have the skills," ask yourself, "Could I learn those skills if I really committed?" By challenging your excuses, you begin to see how weak they really are. Every successful person you admire has faced the same excuses you face. They were busy, they were tired, they lacked money, resources, or support. But they made a choice. They refused to let excuses define their limits. Instead, they pushed through, found solutions, and grew beyond their circumstances. That's why they succeeded. Excuses will always knock on your door. They will always whisper, "Take the easy way out, do it tomorrow, it's not the right time." But you must train yourself to recognize those voices as limitations, not truths. The moment you do, you'll see how much bigger your world becomes. Instead of walls, you'll see possibilities. Instead of reasons to stop, you'll see reasons to push forward. Every person who pursues success will face obstacles. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Challenges, failures, and setbacks are an unavoidable part of the journey. But here is where winners separate themselves from quitters. Winners see obstacles not as excuses to stop, but as opportunities to grow. Most people, when they encounter a roadblock, immediately say, "This is too hard. Maybe it's not meant for me." That mindset kills potential. The truth is, every obstacle is a test of your patience, your creativity, your resilience, and your determination. The obstacle itself is not the enemy. The real enemy is the excuse you make when you face it. Think about some of the greatest success stories in history. Thomas Edison didn't see his thousands of failed experiments as reasons to give up. He saw them as lessons that brought him closer to the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, but instead of making excuses about unfair coaches or bad luck, he used it as motivation to work harder than ever. Oprah Winfrey faced poverty and rejection, but instead of seeing those as obstacles too great to overcome, she turned them into stepping stones toward becoming one of the most influential voices in the world. Obstacles are not there to stop you, they are there to shape you. They are the resistance that builds your strength. Just like muscles grow stronger by lifting heavy weights, your character grows stronger by facing difficulties. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without obstacles, there is no greatness. When you face a challenge, you have two choices. See it as a wall or see it as a door. A wall says, "You can't go further." A door says, "If you push hard enough, you can go through." The obstacle itself doesn't decide which it is, your perspective does. Obstacles also force you to think creatively. When the straight path is blocked, you must find a new path. This is how innovation is born. Many inventions, breakthroughs, and businesses came into existence because someone hit a wall and refused to stop. They asked, "What else can I try? How else can I approach this?" That question is what transforms an obstacle into an opportunity. It's important to remember that excuses and obstacles often come hand in hand. For example, when faced with financial struggles, one person may say, "I can't start my dream because I don't have money." Another person in the same situation might say, "Because I don't have money, I need to be more resourceful, more creative, and more disciplined." The obstacle is the same, but the outcome is completely different because one saw limitation while the other saw opportunity. Obstacles also reveal your commitment. Anyone can chase a dream when things are easy, but when things get tough, only those who truly want it will keep going. That's why obstacles are a gift. They filter out the half-hearted from the truly determined. If you push through, you prove to yourself that your dream is worth the fight. Finally, obstacles teach you lessons that comfort never can. Success without struggle creates entitlement, but success through struggle creates gratitude. Every time you overcome an obstacle, you not only move closer to your goal, but you also become wiser, stronger, and more prepared for the next challenge. If excuses are the enemies of success, then discipline is the weapon that defeats them. Excuses come easily. They whisper in your mind, "You can do it tomorrow," "You're too tired today," "No one will notice if you skip this step." Discipline is the voice that interrupts and says, "No, you committed, you're doing it now." The truth is, no one succeeds by relying on motivation alone. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes with moods, energy levels, or circumstances. But discipline is steady, unshakable, and consistent. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, or not in the mood. Discipline says, "Do it anyway," and that is exactly how greatness is built. Excuses are built on feelings, but discipline is built on choices. For example, an excuse says, I don't feel like waking up early. Discipline answers, I don't care how you feel, get up. An excuse says, it's too hard to study tonight. Discipline says, sit down, open the book, and start. Over time, discipline becomes stronger than feelings, and once that happens, excuses lose their power. Think about elite athletes, soldiers, or successful entrepreneurs. They don't get where they are because they felt like working hard every single day. They succeed because they trained themselves to act, regardless of how they felt. Discipline turns action into habit, and habits eventually become lifestyle. That's why successful people often make progress while others remain stuck, not because they're more talented, but because they're more disciplined. Discipline also creates structure. Without discipline, your day is controlled by distractions and impulses. With discipline, your day is guided by priorities and purpose. An undisciplined person makes excuses like, I didn't have time. A disciplined person plans their time, sticks to it, and gets it done, even if it means saying no to comfort or pleasure in the moment. Another important truth is that discipline builds confidence. Every time you do something you didn't want to do but needed to do, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. That builds self-trust. When you trust yourself, you no longer doubt whether you can handle challenges because you have trained your mind and body to obey your decisions, not your excuses. It's also worth noting that discipline doesn't mean being perfect. It means being consistent. You may fall short some days, but discipline means you get back up, reset, and continue. Excuses look for reasons to quit. Discipline looks for reasons to keep going. Over time, even small, consistent actions create massive results, while excuses only leave regrets. Discipline also requires sacrifice. To say yes to your goals, you must say no to distractions, procrastination, and comfort. Excuses give you temporary relief, but discipline gives you permanent rewards. A person who chooses discipline over excuses may not enjoy the moment as much, but they will enjoy the future far more. Ultimately, discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. Many people intend to succeed, but only those with discipline actually reach the other side. Excuses might delay you, distract you, or stop you completely, but discipline keeps you moving forward step by step, no matter how difficult the path becomes. Excuses thrive in isolation. When no one is watching, it becomes far too easy to cut corners, break promises to yourself, and justify inaction. But when you surround yourself with accountability, people who challenge you, support you, and refuse to let you settle for less, excuses lose their grip. Accountability is like a mirror. It reflects the truth back at you, even when you don't want to see it. Think about it this way: when you're alone, you can tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, and no one will question you. But when you have someone checking in, someone who knows your goals, suddenly those excuses don't sound so convincing. Accountability forces you to live in alignment with your commitments, not just your feelings. Successful people understand this principle deeply. That's why athletes have coaches, businesses have boards, and students have teachers. These systems of accountability exist to ensure progress, discipline, and honesty. Even the most talented individual can fall prey to excuses without someone holding them responsible. Accountability creates pressure, but it's the kind of pressure that produces diamonds. Surrounding yourself with accountability doesn't mean surrounding yourself with critics who only tear you down. It means choosing people who push you toward your potential. A real accountability partner is not someone who comforts your excuses, but someone who challenges them. They won't let you get away with saying, I was too busy, or it's too hard. Instead, they'll remind you of why you started, what you stand to lose, and what you're capable of achieving. Accountability also builds consistency. For example, If you decide to start exercising, you might quit after a few days when you're tired unless you're meeting a friend at the gym. Suddenly, skipping isn't an option because someone is counting on you. This is the power of accountability. It transforms excuses into commitments. It's also important to recognize that your environment is part of your accountability system. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, you'll eventually adopt the same behavior. But if you surround yourself with people who take responsibility, work hard, and push forward despite obstacles, their mindset will influence yours. You rise or fall to the level of the people around you. Accountability isn't just about others holding you responsible, it's also about creating systems that hold you accountable to yourself. Writing down goals, setting deadlines, tracking progress, or publicly committing to something all increase the pressure to follow through. The more you build accountability into your life, the less room there is for excuses to survive. One of the biggest advantages of accountability is that it builds momentum. When you know someone will ask, "Did you do what you said you'd do?" you become more consistent. That consistency leads to progress, and progress builds confidence. Over time, excuses stop being your default reaction because accountability has trained you to act, not delay. Ultimately, accountability transforms weakness into strength. On your own, you may give in to excuses, but with the right people and systems around you, you develop the discipline, consistency, and resilience necessary to keep moving forward. Accountability doesn't eliminate obstacles, but it makes sure you don't run away from them. At the end of the day, life rewards results, not reasons, not stories, not excuses. You can have 1,000 explanations for why something didn't happen, but none of those explanations will build your dreams, pay your bills, or change your life. Only results do. Excuses may protect your pride in the short term, but they steal your progress in the long term. Think about it. When you fail to act, you can always come up with a reason that sounds valid. I was tired. I didn't have enough support. The timing wasn't right. Things were against me. Those reasons may make you feel better temporarily, but they won't bring you any closer to success. Results are what the world sees, not reasons. Results are concrete. They're the book that got published, the degree that got earned, the business that got launched, the weight that got lost, the dream that got realized. Reasons, on the other hand, are invisible. They can't be measured. They can't be celebrated, and they can't change your life. That's why successful people discipline their minds to focus on results. When you focus on results, you stop asking, "Why can't I?" and start asking, "How can I?" That shift in mindset is powerful. Excuses are problem-focused, but results are solution-focused. Instead of dwelling on limitations, you begin searching for possibilities. You stop giving energy to what's holding you back and start channeling it toward what will move you forward. Another truth is that results build credibility, excuses damage it. If you constantly give people reasons why you didn't deliver, they stop trusting you. But when you produce results, even small ones, people begin to trust, respect, and depend on you. Opportunities open up because results speak louder than intentions. Focusing on results also forces you to be resourceful. You might not have everything you need at the beginning, but when you're committed to producing results, you figure it out. You learn, you adapt, you try again. People who focus on excuses see obstacles as dead ends, but people who focus on results see them as detours. The destination doesn't change, only the route does. It's also important to note that results don't have to be huge at first. Consistent small results compound over time. Writing 1 page a day eventually creates a book. Saving a small amount consistently eventually creates wealth. Training for 20 minutes a day eventually creates strength. Excuses, on the other hand, stop you before you even start. The mindset of focusing on results gives you clarity. It reminds you that effort is important, but effort without results isn't enough. You can work hard, but if you're not producing outcomes, you need to adjust your strategy. Results are the proof that you're moving in the right direction. In every area of life, people respect results, not reasons. Employers reward employees who deliver results, not excuses. Clients trust businesses that deliver results, not stories. Life itself gives progress to those who focus on action and outcomes, not delays and justifications. If you want to live a no excuses life, you must train your mind to value results above everything else. Life will always present you with two options: to make excuses or to make progress. You cannot do both. Excuses will always be available, but so will opportunities. The difference lies in your choice. Take full responsibility for your life. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Recognize excuses as the limitations they are. Turn every obstacle into an opportunity. Let discipline guide you when motivation fades. Surround yourself with accountability that pushes you forward. And above all, focus on results, not reasons. If you live by these principles, you will discover a truth that many never realize. Your future is not determined by your circumstances, but by your commitment. Excuses are temporary comfort, but they create permanent regret. Action is hard in the moment, but it creates lasting success. So, from this moment on, decide that you will no longer be held back by the chains of excuses. Decide that your goals, your dreams, and your potential are worth more than any reason to quit. Let your actions speak louder than your excuses, and let your results tell the story of your life. Remember this: success doesn't come to those who make excuses, it comes to those who make no excuses. Thank you.